In today's video, we will be taking a look at what the RX 5700 XT can do in 2024. So we've got 4 games lined up to see what the performance of this little graphics card is. Now, what do we have here? We have the Power Color RX 5700 XT, and I purchased this for a bargain on Facebook Marketplace of, wait for it, £50. Yes, that's right, 50 smackers. That is it. 50 quid. I mean, that's a bargain for this graphics card. It really is. It's probably about 140 graphics card, £140 graphics card, £130 graphics card, somewhere around there. So yeah, I've done really well here, and I'm really happy with this. And we're going to test it in a proper system this week. Last week was a bit of a joke video with the i5 3570. This week is a Ryzen 5 4500 system with 16GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 MHz. So that's a proper system. The 4 games we're going to test are Fortnite, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Cyberpunk 2077, and Starfield. Yeah, that's right, Starfield. That mess, but we're going to go there, guys. We're going to go there. It is a bit of a mess of a game, but it does test out graphics cards, I guess. So you know, there's that to think about as well. So we'll give it a go. Overall, this graphics card really is pretty decent. Like I say, between RTX 2060 Super standard and the RTX 2070, I would say it's probably a little bit below the RTX 3060, but it's kind of round that area. It's not far away from the RTX 3060 in terms of performance. And overall, yeah, I think this is a good graphics card. Now we're going to test 1080p. We'll do high mainly, but sometimes we'll drop it for some of the games. But 1080p high is what we're aiming for here, which really this graphics card is a 1080p high graphics card, I would say. Potentially you could do 1440p, sort of low to medium settings, but I think really this is 1080p high gaming for this graphics card. That's what I recommend anyway. But anyway, I think that's enough whiff-waff and enough chat, so let's get over to the monitor and see what this thing can do, eh guys? So first up, we've got Fortnite. Full screen 1080p, unlimited frame rate. What we're going to do, graphics quality, we're going to go the preset, we're just going to put it up to high here. And then we'll just apply this, and those are the settings basically. Probably about 100 FPS or so there, so 1080p high. This is obviously a much improvement from last week's video if you saw that. Again, that was a bit of a joke video, guys, but yeah, this is a bit more serious now. You know, Ryzen 5 4500 can actually perform, so we should be able to get some good FPS here. So what I'll do is once we hit the ground, I'll start doing the benchmarking as well. So we'll put the benchmarking on now. So yeah, it's sitting around sort of, well, it's hovering, but it's like sort of in the 90s to 100s FPS. Our GPU is actually only up to about 80% usage, which is a little bit odd, but that's Fortnite for you. It will vary, it will go up and down quite a lot here. And we're only like 54 degrees centigrade on the GPU and only about 43 or so on the CPU, so we're all good there. We are getting some dips. As you can see, the 1% and the 0.1% lows are quite low, but again, this is Fortnite. This is kind of a bit expected, unfortunately. It's not the best optimized game, and certainly for playing online, obviously you will get drops, because just from the server and what have you, you could even have like the best PC in the world and you probably still see drops in Fortnite. It's that bad, but you know. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, Fortnite is obviously really playable here. We kind of know this anyway, but you know, the 5700 XT 1080p high here in Fortnite performing pretty respectively. Let's just see if we can get into some action or something. So yeah, sort of again sitting around the 100 FPS or so average, but there is a few drops here and there, so pretty good for Fortnite 1080p high. We could go low as well, or even medium or normal settings. and that would give us a little bit extra, but this is perfectly fine. You know, if you were gaming on a 144 hertz monitor, then yes, you would want to dial down the settings a little bit just to give yourself that 144 experience. But overall, this is still perfectly playable here. 1080p high. I mean, I won't. I don't have a 1440p monitor, so we can't do that. Unfortunately, we can't test 1440p. But 1080p high is going to be more than fine for the RX 5700 XT. I would still say the RX 5700 XT is still more of a 1080p card rather than a 1440p card. Although it is possible you can get 1440p performance out of it. But again, I think 1080p is really where it's at with this card. It's not quite up to that level yet. I'd say you know it's you probably would need to go up a class or two in a GPU. You probably need to get up to about RTX 3070 to go into to 1440p gaming properly, if you ask me. There we go, we're done. Anyway, Fortnite performance was good, but we kind of respected that. Let's next game is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but we'll just do the benchmark for that. We'll just run the in-game benchmark. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider here. Let's go into the graphics. We're at 1080p. Our RX 5700 XT here, so that's all good. Graphics. So we set it to high. We're just going to leave it on the high settings. They're there if you want to see them. And we're just going to do the run benchmark, and we'll just see where it gets to. This is the in-game benchmark, sort of in-game benchmarking tool. I'll probably run the in-game benchmarking tool for Cyberpunk as well when we get to Cyberpunk. So obviously here pretty much smashing it, 100 and nearly 40 odd, 130 I'd say. We are getting more or less 100% usage on the GPU now, into the high 90s anyway, so that's good. Our CPU again is just sort of idling really, 5% usage, so basically saying, you know, well, what do you want me to do? Now obviously when we had our joke video last week, it was i5 3570, and obviously we were 100% usage all the time on that CPU and totally bottlenecked and couldn't get any performance out of our graphics card. But now we're getting good performance out of our graphics card and it's working fine. 1080p high on a fairly older game like this, to get into the hundreds and 140s and what have you, isn't bad. It's you know, maybe you might want to push a little bit higher and get into that sort of 150, 160 region, but this is still a fairly demanding game. You know, it's not too demanding for 2024, but there is still some graphical fidelity to it, so it's still a little bit demanding. And our graphics card's easily handling 1080p high here, and you know, really for a game like this, you're probably only going to need 60 FPS anyway, because it's you know, it's not a FPS game. It's not a first-person shooter game. It's more of like a action-adventure type game, and you know, it's a little bit more slower pace. So really, 60 FPS is going to be more than enough anyway. So this is more than a pass. This is actually really good performance. In fact, we get into sometimes get into 170 sort of territory FPS. So that's really good. You know, the RX 5700 XT does sit between the RTX 2060 Super and the RTX 2070, I would say. It sits right between that sort of level. I mean, yes, obviously the Nvidia cards are the more popular cards, and AMD cards are just always going to be less popular, and there's less resale value in the cards as well, unfortunately. And if you're selling PCs, you will find it more difficult to sell the AMD cards. But I only got this for £50, as I said, so yeah, it was a no-brainer really. It's about 140, maybe to £150 graphics card, so yeah, no-brainer for £50. I mean, I've got a bargain here, and it really is performing well, and really happy with it. I mean, 60 degrees centigrade as well. It's not even getting, it's not really even getting that warm. I mean, really, graphics cards, like I said before, I'd say anything under 80 is perfectly fine, and obviously CPU anything under 80 is perfectly fine as well. When you get into 85s on a graphics card, I would be a little bit more cautious, and I would probably be looking at something, you know, maybe either the fans maybe need replacing, or maybe even the thermal paste or something. But you know, overall, you shouldn't be getting into 85s anyway, so it should be fine. Let's have a look. Our minimum FPS on GPU was 112. Our maximum was 227, and our average was 142. So an average frames per second of 142 is really good, I think, in this game. So let's move on to a little bit more demanding game in Cyberpunk 2077. So Cyberpunk, I'll probably actually keep that in. That was funny. Cyberpunk 2077. Graphics. Well, actually, let's look at video first. 1080p full screen. That's fine. Graphics. We've actually set it to high here. So yeah, and these are all the settings. It's just the default high setting, high preset setting of high. Quick preset setting of high. Sorry, there we go. Let's get it right. And then we'll just go run benchmark. So yeah, we should see pretty good FPS here actually. I mean, obviously on our i5 3570 we were totally bottlenecked and had 100% usage on the CPU and couldn't get anything on our GPU basically because it was just so bottlenecked. But here we go, into the 80s now for FPS here. That's pretty good. 1080p high. RX 5700 XT getting about 95% usage there, so it's pretty good. 59 degrees centigrade is pretty good. Our CPU is only using 5% as well, so really good on that side. You know, obviously a Ryzen 5 4500 can easily keep up with this graphics card. So yeah, 100 FPS really in Cyberpunk 2077. 1080p high is pretty respectable, I'd say. I mean, it is dropping a little bit. It's going into the 70s now, and probably the average is going to be about 80 odd, I'd say. But that's still very respectable. I mean, you only really need 60 FPS for Cyberpunk to play, so that's more than acceptable. Let's just see what the readings are. So let's just take that off for a minute. Oh, there we go. So 92 average FPS, which is really good. Minimum of 75 and a maximum of 113. So yeah, Cyberpunk, very playable. 1080p high on the RX 5700 XT, providing you actually have a half decent system to play it on. Let's move on to Starfield. So Starfield, here we go. Graphics preset we're going to set to high. 1080p full screen. These are all the things that we're going to use. We are going to use the upscaling for the FSR 3. That will just help out because, yeah, let's be fair, Starfield is a struggle to play, isn't it? I mean, it's a struggle to play, but it's also a struggle to run as well. So it really was a bit of a disaster by Bethesda, really. Just not optimized for any hardware at all, even if you had high-end hardware. And you know, really, I mean, look here, we're 1080p high, and we have an RX 5700 XT. Let's just start the benchmarking. And we have 55. We haven't even got 60 FPS here at 1080p high. Like, what is going on, really? I just don't know what they were thinking at Bethesda. Why they made it so demanding. And they say it's demanding, but like, if you ask me, the graphics in Cyberpunk 2077 are no worse than what Starfield is. So I just don't get where this is all coming from, really. Yeah, it's just very odd if you ask me. Like here, I mean, okay, we're not getting too bad drops here, but our 1% and our 0.1%, 37 FPS for 1% low, and our 21 FPS is our 0.1% low. I mean, really, for a system like this, we shouldn't be dropping anywhere near that. Okay, we're starting to get up to 60 FPS now in terms of the frame rate here. I mean, our average is still 55, so that's still a bit poor, but I don't know. For me, really, that's not very good, but let's actually just put the graphics down a little bit now. Let's just go to medium and see if that helps out. Also, as well, we are running FSR 3 here, so it's not like you know, if we had this off, we would get even worse FPS. So I don't know what's happening really. So we've gone down to medium, and it's like literally done nothing for our FPS. We're literally still like 55 FPS even at medium. Starfield is just a very bizarre game. I don't know what they've done. It really was. I mean, some people call it Bugfield, and I kind of agree. It's just a buggy mess, really, and it's a shame. I think potentially it had a lot of potential behind it, but they just messed it up basically, and there's no way to get it back now. So let's actually just go right down to low and see if that will help out a bit. So we're on low now. No, even at low it's not done anything. I don't know what's happening here, guys. No, I don't know. I mean, the graphics now look far worse, and we're still about the same frame rate as we were even at high. So I don't know what's happening. This is bizarre. It's very odd how you could see a game. Usually with a game, you go down to low and the graphics go down. You get a lot more performance in terms of your FPS, but this just doesn't have an effect at all. Look, so like here we're on 65, 64. Let's go up to high on our graphics. Right, we're at high now. This is high graphics, and okay, we've gone down a little bit, but we're still like 50 FPS. So I just don't get it. Why Starfield is what it is. So figure it out if you can, guys. I don't know. I mean, I can't, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, we are getting good usage on our GPU now. We are getting into the 90s, so that's something. So obviously putting it to high did help in one way. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a bit of a mess, Starfield. So not really much we can do here. I mean, yeah, certainly if you want to play Starfield, well, if you do. I mean, I don't really think people do want to play Starfield, but if you do, then an RX 5700 XT at 1080p high is going to be playable. I mean, 60 FPS is perfectly fine and is playable. And to be fair, it's not really dropping down too much from the 50s here. So really, I would, really it is playable. It is smooth enough here. Just going around and stuff. It is smooth. There's no input lag, so. It is fine in that sense, so it is very playable, but really, you would expect more from what is a pretty decent graphics card here, and we've got a good system here, I'd say it is a little bit budget, but it is a good system. An RX 5700 XT is still, in my book anyway, it's still a good graphics card. It's still got 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and it's still very respectable. So yeah, we shouldn't really be going. We should be getting more than 60 FPS at 1080p high, in my opinion, but it is what it is. So I think I'll end the video there. I mean, overall, if you can get the RX 5700 XT, certainly I would say anything under £100 or less. Obviously, that's a buy straight away. I mean, I got it for 50, which is an absolute steal, really was. Yeah, it was basically a steal off the guy, but I'll take it. If someone's putting something up for cheap and it's there, I'm going to take it. You've got to be opportunistic in this world and take the opportunities which are there. So yeah, overall I'm very happy with my 50 quid that I've spent here. The graphics card's working perfectly. The games might not be working perfectly with the graphics card, but the graphics card is working perfectly, so that's fine. And the cooling's really good. It's under 65 degrees centigrade, even at 100% usage, so really good card here. I can certainly recommend the RX 5700 XT. Very good card. And overall, I hope you like this video. Leave a comment on what you think of the video. Would you buy the 5700 XT? Obviously, if you're a Nvidia fanboy, then you probably would go. You probably would stay away from it. But I do think it's a good option, and certainly the AMD cards, because there isn't so much resale value, you can get a bargain more. I find with the Nvidia stuff, it will be snapped up so quick that you won't get a bargain. So sometimes you will have to get, you will have to open your eyes and go elsewhere. But yeah, like I say, please subscribe to help us out. Please like the video, which will help us out in the YouTube algorithm. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.